3 miles away in the South Bronx, normality, an abandoned building deliberately set on fire. It's no one's responsibility to pull down these buildings, so they're set on fire, and firemen have to risk their lives putting them out in case the fire should spread to occupied buildings. It does sometimes seem the fire department is simply there to provide a permanent street cabaret.
In the neighborhood seem to get some enjoyment out of using some form of accelerant, usually gasoline. And as you can see, I have had at least 5 what we call all-hand fires in this building. And it's a routine, more or less, for our neighborhood.
Most calls are routine, to piles of rubbish that no one clears away, to stolen cars stripped of tyres, batteries, seats and wiring, then set alight for fun. In the South Bronx, services are beginning to collapse. The sanitation department can't cope, neither can the police, and the fire department is stretched to breaking point. On bad days, the men of Engine 82 and Ladder 31 seem to be the last barricade before the final collapse of the Bronx.
I can remember it, and all the fellows here on Simpson Street, which is one of the biggest at one time. It's lesser now because the buildings are gone, they've been burned out. It was one of the biggest areas in New York City for prostitution. And here, you know, Phil pulls up, takes a hydrant, flames are coming out the windows, and Wooly and everybody else is stretching the hose. And while this is going on, you know, and I'm looking, you know, what's my next move? What am I going to tell the chief? What situation's got? Here's a hooker coming down the street with a bad buddy. I'm going into a vacant building. You know, she's going to go to work on and get $2 to take a shot.
They even ask us. That's right? So hey, fine.
And then, you know, then 2 hours later we roll out again and we go over to Fox Street. And we're putting out a rubbish fire at 6 in the morning. This is after being out, you know, 30 times a night. And here's some guy with a knife out. And he's going to cut, you know, and, you know, we're doing our job. And here, this is all going around like we weren't even there. Here's the fireman putting out this rubbish fire, and here's a guy with a knife, you know. Right. He's going to cut this other fire up.
Right.
You know. We roll over to, you know, I guess all this excitement captures us, you know, and that's why we stay here. You know, we're dedicated, we like to help, but it's also, for me, this bit of excitement. I mean, you know, everything immeasurable is going on right here in the South Bronx. And, you know, it kind of keeps me going.
A 100 years ago, these men would have been found on the wild frontier, driving wagon trains across the deserts to California and fighting Indians. Today it's still very like the Wild West, but with hours of tedium and routine as well as the same drama and excitement. That same challenge of the unknown is found in the South Bronx, where sometimes the natives are very far from friendly.
Well, this morning on the way into work we had a report that the police had located a carcass on in a street on 172nd and Bryant. It turned out to be a stripped carcass of a gorilla. It was headless and the fur was removed, the skin was removed. South Bronx.
8231, Battalion 27, go!
There is, surprisingly, a waiting list for places in Battalion 27. Charlie Ferrand even gave up the safer world of book illustrating to prove something to himself working here.
You have to prove yourself. Oh yeah, you have to prove yourself, I think, to your fellow workers, and that's done through time. You know, for taking the beating, you know, taking the knob, as we call, and not being, like you say, afraid. I mean, you are, but, you know, you don't try to show it, and you just go off and you do your job, and by doing that, you prove it to your fellow workers.
For those who feel the need to prove themselves, opportunities are continuous. Yet men rarely leave Engine 82 and tend to be quietly pitying of their colleagues in the slower houses of smart Manhattan or respectable suburbia.
No, I went to the boulevard to see if she was there, the medical center. They announced all the things she isn't there.
But he can watch the apartment there before.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. I live right upstairs. My kids are sleeping, I'm scared.
It's all over with.
Fire is only one of the dangers faced by the firemen of the South Bronx. They're often stoned, sometimes have dustbins and rubbish dropped on them from roofs, have even been stopped from reaching fires by snipers. Their arrival must sometimes seem a mixed blessing. They can appear unnecessarily destructive.
They call us the house wreckers. Not all of them, but some of them do. And we do look like we're going in to direct the place, but to take out the windows, that's how we get our fresh air. And that's how the people breathe that are trapped in there. If you don't take out the windows, then nobody's going to get any fresh air. So naturally it looks like we're there to tear the building down, and which we're trying to do is give anybody that has a chance a breath of fresh air. It does look bad, but they don't understand the job, that's the whole thing.
Do you ever get into ugly situations because people don't understand what's going on?
Oh, plenty of times, yes. We've had to have a few people arrested for trying to stop us from doing our job, and we've had to forcibly eject them from the building.
The firemen damped down not only fires but tempers once they saved a man whose car had been destroyed and whose life was threatened because he'd killed a dog. It was almost as routine as fighting a fire.
In this particular area, we have stabbings, shootings, you know, war leaks, everything. Overdoses, births,
and family arguments.
Family arguments, but the thing is, the men are trained. In other words, they pull a box, we roll in. If it's a stabbing, we're going to stop the bleeding, you know. If it's a baby that's not breathing, we're going to, you know, we'll put the resuscitator on her, mouth to mouth, we'll bring her back. If it's a young lady with a, you know, giving birth, we can do that, you know. We can do anything.
But why does the fire department get called out for that?
For some strange reason, these people think that, I believe anyway, that most people think that in this area anyhow, that the fire department is their salvation, that they call the fire department as a last resort. They've tried the police department, the housing authority, anybody else, but the most times we'll respond. We'll come for anything. Water leaks, which is on a rare occasion, which happens like, say, 3 o'clock in the morning, right, Chief?
Right.
You have these 3 o'clock in the morning, more or less?
Yeah, well, we get there promptly. That's the reason why they do.
They know that we're going to respond.
Get there right away.
They know that when they pull a box or call the dispatcher on a telephone that
regardless of the time of the day or the night, they know they're going to get help. They may not get much sympathy, but they're going to get help.
Today, Battalion 27 covers an area just 1 mile square, and it's chronically overworked. Out of the 30 or so responses Engine 82 makes daily, perhaps only 2 or 3 will be to fires.